There's only one name for this bug eye, Lazarus. This bug eye is about as dead can be, and since Christ don't do cars, that pretty much leaves it up to me, with the support of you folks. BugeyeBob back here at you, and the last time we were talking about removing the A-pillar from the right-hand side of the vehicle, and got it ripped off. This is what it looks like. You see there's a big dent right across there, and I had to go through a lot of work to rip this off. It wasn't spot welded, but it was bent over, crimped over. Spot welds, the panel sits like this. Panel sits like this on the car. Spot weld at the bottom, spot weld there, spot weld there. Spot welds all along the front edge, as well as some welding on the bottom. Let's take a look at where that is on the vehicle. We are talking about all of this right here. So this panel went in up underneath of there, goes up underneath this edge. There were spot welds there, across there. This seam, once it was all done, was leaded up and puttied in so that you saw a smooth surface. After looking at the price to buy a replacement for this and looking at the work involved to make a replacement for this or fix this one, I opted for buying a replacement piece. This is that replacement piece. This is the edge that was crimped over along here. The replacement piece comes with that essentially bent as a 90-degree angle. This is the piece that goes on the bottom, which is non-existent on this piece. Now, this piece here, you'll notice that this piece originally bent over. You notice that this piece bent along over here, whereas this one has an additional piece added on. That piece goes right here. So this is what that extra piece that's added on is. This tab here is also, I'm going to call that an inch wide. On this one, well, on the one on the car, that's about 5/8 of an inch wide. So this all has to come off. This piece here has to come off. This gutter for the bonnet, there's a piece of rubber that goes in this that the bonnet sits down on. So that's got to go in there like that. In fact, that's almost exactly how it goes. And you can see right here is where that joint is. That's this joint right here. Then this has to overlap that. And when it's put onto this piece here, this edge has to be crimped down around and over all of that. Now, looking at this piece, this is shot down at the bottom. This is where you have two mounts that the door hinges go into, which slide in here. One there, one down here. Those pieces are a little bit different on the new, on this replacement piece. I've ordered replacement pieces for both sides for this. Unfortunately, the one for the right-hand side was not available. So I'm going to show you what the left-hand side has on it, and we'll work from there. This piece here also has this 90-degree bracket here mounted to it, and it gets spot welded to this inner piece here. So now, let's take a look at this piece. Like I said, this one is for the other side, so it's going to mount this way, but on the other side. And you will notice it's got this piece, get up here. You'll notice it's got this piece on it already. Let me back up a little bit. So let's talk about this piece here. This piece does not go the full height, but it comes with the brackets for the hinges to mount onto already essentially sealed in. That's those brackets that the plates that that's the plates that the door hinge screw to. So let's take a look at how this compares in height to what's in the car already. Right there's good. Now, as you can see, even though this is for the other side, you can imagine this does not come up to the full height and have this piece here in it. So I'm going to have to cut this across here. When the one for this side comes in, I'll have to cut this piece across here, cut off all of the crap that's left over from this piece that I don't want, and then that will all get welded into place, sort of like so. You can imagine it that way. This is upside down, but it's pretty close to what it would look like. Then the new panel on this side, this all goes together like this. Again, I got the wrong one for the other. Let me grab the panel for the other side here. So these are the two pieces for the left-hand side or driver's side of the car. And you can see how they nest together. And the thing that you're going to have to do, or I'm going to have to do, is I'm going to have to weld those two pieces together when I'm all done. I'm sorry, once they're installed, they're going to have to be welded together during the installation process. Now on this right-hand side, or actually on both sides, because that inner piece is shorter, I'm going to have to cut off that existing piece right about where that line is and dig out all of the rest of the crap down below, clean it all up on the inside and everything, and then weld the new piece to the top of that bottom piece. So since the piece that I need for the right-hand side is on back order, and I really want to kind of get one side done before I start in on the other side, I decided that I am going to do some cleanup work on the rest of the inside of this thing and get rid of some of the rust and some of the body filler or seam filler as they call it, and some of the other crap in there, just so that I kind of have an idea of how bad things really are. So this is the tool that I am going to use. It is a needle scaler. This one happens to be from Harbor Freight. It's a straight needle scaler. And basically the way it works is you run air in one end and it jabs and pokes those needles into things and makes a hell of a lot of noise. It happens to be particularly good for getting off rust and, in this case, that seam sealer, which is tar on this vehicle. Looks like tar, smells like tar, gooey like tar, heated up and it stinks like tar, so I'm calling it tar. So I put on all of my personal protection equipment, cranked up the air compressor to 90 psi, and I'm starting in smacking this stuff around. Now you can see chips of stuff flying all over the place. What you can't experience, though, is the incredible, horrible noise that this son of a bitch makes, pounding against everything. So I am going to basically put some music on here, and I'm going to speed this up because I go through an awful lot of jamming and just ripping shit apart with this. So this panel's got to be taken out. The other thing that's nice about the needle scaler is that it gets into these areas like in this corner where you can't get in with a grinder or much of anything else, and it works great for popping the paint off so that you can find where those little spot welds are located at. This section right here gives you an idea how well that needle scaler strips off all of the old paint and stuff. This spot here where that screwdriver is going through, that all actually looked like it was fairly solid before I hit it with the needle scaler. And you can see that it's actually pretty well eaten up, and I'm going to have to replace out a lot further than it would have originally looked. So let's take a look at some more spots. You look on this floor, and before you couldn't really see what was underneath of some of the paint and other things. But right around in here, those are actually holes where the bolt holes go through for the seat. You couldn't see those before I went over and hit it all with the needle scaler. You knew that there was a place where the seat had to be bolted on, but you really just couldn't see that those spots were where the bolts went through down through the subfloor and into the bottom brace. Over here on the upper left, you can see now that there's actually holes through the tunnel wall. Those all have to be replaced. And more importantly, you can see how the tunnel itself mounts onto the floor. Here you can see that the drive shaft tunnel flange is spot welded over the top of the floor pan, and then the outer cross member section is spot welded on top of the drive shaft tunnel flange. It crosses over that, and then it gets spot welded over the floor pan. Here you can see that everything on the bottom of the tunnel itself, from that arrow point back, about up an inch and a half or 2 inches high on the tunnel, plus the flange, all of that's going to have to be cut out and replaced. So that's going to be a bit of fun in and of itself. This is kind of a catch-22 situation because you need to get the floor pan in and replaced before you can spot weld these pieces on top of it. But you really need to have these pieces in to set the proper height and position of the floor pan on the body. So I think what I'm going to have to do is probably use some channel iron or something to anchor down the various bits and pieces, and then figure out how to weld the floor pan in and put all these other pieces, replace all these other rusted out pieces on top of that. Here you can see where the floor pan itself actually has a flange on it to get spot welded to the inner side of the rocker panel. So getting all of that, the rocker panel is going to obviously have to be fixed first. And the rocker panel is a major structural component. So you can't just go cutting it all apart, and you're going to end up, if you just start cutting it all apart, you risk having the body warp out of shape, because that's part of the main structure of the vehicle itself. One of the parts that doesn't seem to be available is this hood rear channel that the hood rear channel seal goes into. That runs from here over here on the left side up over the top of the firewall and then down on the right side of the vehicle. Here's a close-up shot of what that hood rear channel for the seal looks like. Its dimensions are internally 1/2 inch or 12.7 millimeters high on the flange that goes up against the firewall itself, 5/8 of an inch or 15.88 millimeters wide across the bottom, and then 3/8 of an inch high on the flange that runs across the front. And the reason for the difference in height is so that you can get in there and spot weld this bugger on the flange up against the back. My personal opinion is that they stuck this rear seal on there so that if your engine puked out a bit of oil or smoke or something like that, it wouldn't end up getting splattered all over your windshield. So my personal opinion, take it for what you will. Now, since that piece is not available from anybody as far as I know, I'm going to have it fabricated. I can't try making it myself. I don't have a brake that's wide enough to handle a piece that long. Its total length is 56 inches, so it's going to have to be bent up, and then I'm going to have to get my hands on a shrinker stretcher or whatever, and very carefully work it around to get all of those curves. You start out and you have kind of tight curves on each end, and then over across the top of the piece, it's a very shallow curve across the top. So that's going to take a bit of time to get that all fit perfectly, and I may actually have to break down and buy a shrinker stretcher. I looked around on Marketplace here in Pensacola, the Facebook Marketplace, and I can't seem to find a shrinker stretcher. So I guess I'm just going to have to break down and buy a brand new one, although I'm not really fond of doing that for something that I'm not really going to use very much. And let's go on to some other things. All right. Okay. Put me some gloves on. Going to talk about the driver's seat. This here is the driver's seat. You can see it's a little bit rusted out right across here. I'm sure that if I checked with Kyle at Carter's Custom Detailing, I think that's his channel's name. I'll have to double check. He would, I'm sure he would tell me that, that's fine. That'll just buff right out. There's no problem at all. I don't have the skills that Kyle has, folks. I really wish I did, but I just don't have his level of skill. So I got a little problem here. I just don't think that I can, you know, buff this out and restore it and turn it into a viable car seat anymore. There's another little problem with it. You know, this seat was designed with nice flow-through bottom on it, so that you know, sometimes you sit on a seat and your bottom gets a little hot and sweaty and stuff. You'll never have that problem with this seat. You know, just lots of air flow through. You'll never have to worry about that. This thing, you'll be able to sit on this all day long and not have to worry about getting a sweaty bottom out of it. But it is a little short on padding, and so you know, I got a nice frame here. This piece here, that's still pretty good. I can, you know, probably knock the rust off of that and be all right. But the springs, you know, they're not as supportive as they used to be, and this backrest is just doesn't have the support on it that it used to have either. So let me show you the other seat. I'll set this one over here, kind of like that, so you can get a good comparison of the two seats. Can you all see that seat? Okay, let me slide it this way just a little bit. And I'll set the other seat up right here. Pardon me just a minute. All right. And there's the other seat right there, folks. And as you can see, this seat is actually even better than that one is, because you get good airflow on the back of this seat as well as up through the bottom. So, you know, I mean, I think your passenger riding in the passenger seat would absolutely love this seat, because, you know, you don't have to worry about springs poking you up in the bottom. You don't have to worry about things hitting you in the back. You know, it's I don't think even Recaro makes a seat that's as good as this one right here. So, yeah, those are my seats. And I think I got a problem. I got to hunt down two seats. So if you have any ideas of where a man might come up with two Bug-Eye Sprite seats, really, really goddamn cheap, let me know. I did see a set of seats that were out of, I believe, a 240Z that were pretty shallow in height this way, from the seat bottom to the base, and looked like they were close to the same height. But I saw them on Facebook Marketplace here in Pensacola, or I think they were, I don't remember exactly, it was someplace local. And yeah, of course, as typical goes, I lost the link for them and went to go looking for them again and can't find them. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do about seats for this thing. Just one more thing to add to the list, I guess. I just pulled out the replacement floor pans that I ordered. I did not order them from somebody like Moss Motors or someplace like that. I bought these on eBay. Says they're made in the USA. They were the cheapest set I could find, and I guess this is a lesson in you buy the cheapest, you get the cheapest, because these were not stamped with a die set. They were made, from what I can see, they were made with a bead roller. And I don't think they even did any stretching of the metal or anything. Now, you can see, you can hear there's some tension in there. Some of this is damage from shipping. but some of it is just not very well made. There's a dent in here all the way across here, but this piece right here is not dented. This flange is what mounts to the side of the rocker panel. This actually spot welds to the bottom of the tunnel for the drive shaft. The drive shaft has a completely enclosed tunnel, and this spot welds to the bottom of it. Then there's a brace that goes up through here that's part of the main subframe of the vehicle. Now you can see, I'm going to grab a dolly and a hammer. I'm going to try to straighten this up a little bit, but I don't think I'm going to have a lot of luck. Yeah, that didn't really do much of anything. There's another spot right up here that's bent. And this flange is not a good 90-degree bend all the way up and down it either. It leaves a bit to be desired. And that son of a bitch is warped like all hell. If you sight down the length of it, you can see right in here there's a big warp. There's another one right around in here. Not exactly sure how the hell I'm going to get those out, except possibly by brute force. This right in here is dented all the wrong way. Yeah, so that's going to take some work. I'm still waiting for this A-pillar internal upright that goes on this side of the car down right here. I really don't want to start tearing the other side open because I'm trying to keep as much of it as together as possible. These, this is unit body construction. The main structural components of it are these rocker panels. You've got some bracing in the pieces up front here for the engine. And then things like your floor bases, your cross braces, those are providing a lot of the structural integrity of the vehicle, and those are rusted out. The tunnel for the drive shaft, that's kind of another structural component. So these uprights here, your rocker panels, your front and cross braces, inside the tunnel itself for the drive shaft, those kind of become structural components that give the body some stiffness and give the whole car some stiffness. So you got to be real damn careful when you start tearing things apart. I don't have a frame jig. If I had a frame jig, I could rip, everything off, stick it on the frame jig, hold everything in place while I was doing all this. literally cut the body in half and hold the front and the rear where they're supposed to be, and it wouldn't be any problem. I don't have that. I'm going to have to build a rotisserie to put it on. And what I'm trying to do right now is get the critical stuff done, because to put it on a rotisserie, I want to be able to, and I probably will end up just having to do these A-pillars and then weld angle iron in to the A-pillars and maybe some cross pieces crosswise to hold everything tight and rigid, just so I can do these floor pans. Basically to be able to do the cross braces and the front to rear braces and the seat mount brackets and everything else, you really got to be able to have access to the bottom of the vehicle. So that would mean either lifting the thing up, high enough to where I can get underneath it, and having had a car fall on me once, I'm not a fan of having to get underneath of any vehicle, no matter what it's being held up by. So, yeah, there's that, folks. That scar right there is the reminder of what happens when a car falls off of its stands and ends up landing on you. Compound fracture. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Comments are gratefully appreciated. If you click on like, that helps spread the channel to other people. It's kind of weird, the videos, some of my videos, I think one of them has got several thousand views. Some of them get just 100 views or so, and some of them get 500 views. I haven't figured out what the key to it is. I try to make everything kind of consistent as far as, obviously I don't wear the same damn shirt every day, but I try to make everything else as consistent as I can as far as my style. So if you see anything that you particularly find objectionable, let me know. Some people have complained about the music, but I put the music in there like every other channel that I watch does, because there's nothing to be said, but you can just sit there and watch what's being done. Typically I'll put it in whenever I've sped up action. There's stuff that I do on here that in one instance it was close to 20 or 30 minutes worth of work, and I'm not going to make you watch through all of that at normal speed, so I speed it up just like every other channel, and I run through that 20 minutes in about a tenth of that time. So you're looking at maybe 2 minutes, and for that 2 minutes I'll put some music on. So if you have any ideas on what you'd like to see on the channel, let me know. I'd appreciate some feedback as far as that sort of stuff goes. If you have any ideas on how to do things better, let everybody know. Put a comment in there that, if I do something wrong, put a comment in there saying, hey, dummy, there's a better way of doing it, and this is it. Sometimes other people have great ideas. I am limited in what I can do because if you look around, I don't have a garage full of equipment. I don't have a bead roller that's powered, or I don't even have a bead roller. I don't have a English wheel. I don't have a lot of pieces of equipment. That's just the reality of doing things on a budget. So if you can support the channel on Patreon, that would be absolutely fantastic. If you think you might want to make a one-time donation, then let me know, and I'll set up a way for people to be able to make a one-time donation to help move things along. If you are in the Pensacola area and you happen to know of somebody that's got a piece of equipment or even a piece of a car, that
I could borrow or make use of for some of this stuff, that would also be greatly appreciated. And other than that, folks, you folks have a great day. Bye-bye.
Okay, folks, that's it for this episode of BugeyeBob. I really appreciate you watching and hope that, like me, you've learned a few things in this episode. Please like, subscribe, and comment on this video and share it with others. You can help support this project by becoming a member at patreon.com/BugeyeBob in the link below. Patreon paid members get early access to the videos and in the future will enjoy question and answer sessions and live streams. As this channel grows, future Patreon member benefits will include bonus or extended episodes, member names and credits, and the ability to suggest topics for future videos. You can follow this BugeyeBob restoration on YouTube and Facebook at the links below. Once again, thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, and supporting this channel. And remember that sometimes the most important job you can do is a dirty, thankless job.